Uh, both cases were here for our adversary hearing today. We are conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement in consent of the parties. We are live streaming, and Ms. Taylor is making our record this morning. Okay, I'll go ahead and take announcements from everybody.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. We are present and ready. And Your Honor, I think once all announcements are made, we can have an announcement on the Richardson case with a couple of requests. And then we'd need to talk about as far as how we want to proceed on this lease.
Savannah Kincaid, I'm attorney for Ms. Pineda. I expected her to be here, or I've put in a call, but I believe we've reached an agreement this morning.
All right, thank you.
Lorraine Lucero, on behalf of the father, Mr. Turner, we're both present and ready, and I believe also we have an agreement.
Stacy Zavala, on behalf of the kids, here and ready.
All right, thank y'all. All right, and just for the record, Ms. Zavala and I did have a conference with Alyssa and Annalisa yesterday. Both beautiful, bright children, and we had a good talk. And so just want everybody to be aware that the court has conferred with the children, or at least with the two older children. All right, then, Mr. Trout, I guess if you want to outline what is agreed, we'll start there.
Yes, ma'am. The parties have come to an agreement that this department would have temporary managing conservatorship. The parents would work services. Parents are requesting some home studies to be done, and I'll let them state who they want those on. One part, Ms. Lucero did ask as far as Mr. Richardson with visitations. From the paperwork that I have, when this case first started, Mr. Richardson was arrested. There was a MOAP put in place, and Lazarius is listed as one of the protected people on that MOAP. So he's not allowed to have visitations with the child until the MOAP's up on December 7th. So anytime after December 7th. So that I did meet with Ms. Lucero and talk to her about that a while ago. But other than that, we have no issues running home studies on the people that they want home studies run on. No child support at this time in the Department of Keep TMC.
And you said that order is until December 7th?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, thank you. Then let me just ask, while we're talking about Mr. Richardson. Mr. Richardson, who is it that you would like to have considered as a to have a home study evaluation done? And you're muted. You'll have to unmute for me, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. My parents.
And where do they live? They're here in Amarillo.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. All right, and this may sound like a silly question to you, but sometimes the answer is yes, sometimes the answer is no, but do they have a relationship with the children?
Yes.
Or with the child? I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, and this home study would only be as to Lazarius. Am I correct about that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. All right, and then Ms. Lucero, is your client also requesting a home study on a certain individual?
Just the Jennifer and Rodney Smith, Your Honor. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, is that who she wants a home study on as well, or is there somebody else?
Oh, I don't know. I represent Mr. Richardson.
I'm sorry, Ms. Kincaid. I apologize.
No, you're fine.
Yeah. Your Honor, that's the same parties that my client would like to have the home study on.
Okay. And again, is that just for Lazarius?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right, then I don't see any problem with that. Any department have any reason why we would not conduct a home study on the paternal grandparents?
Yeah, and I know that in the affidavits there were maybe some concerns with them, but we'll be happy to run a home study on.
Okay. Well, as we all well know, sometimes when these things are initiated, it's very emotional and it's kind of a high charged atmosphere. So let's take a look at them. So I will order the home study on the Smiths, paternal grandparents of Lazarus.
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, if I may, I believe that there were some concerns possibly from the department that, the Smiths wouldn't be, protective, of the child. But I have spoken with Mr. Richardson and explained to him that hopefully if the child is placed there, that, that'll be a good placement for him, but that he has to follow the court's rules. He just can't show up over there and, try to see the child. He knows he has to follow the rules. And once his visits come into place, he understands that those are going to be supervised by St. Francis, most likely there at the office. So I just wanted to put that on the record that he understands that.
All right. And Mr. Richardson, I'll expand on that just a little bit. If we've got to do the home study first, but if the children are placed with your parents, don't put them in that position, by just showing up, because they're going to be under the same rules. And I can just tell you that what they're going to be told is if they don't follow the rules and, we find out that you're having, unsupervised contact with the children, it can mean the children get removed from their home, and so it's just easier if nobody presses the boundaries and nobody puts anybody in that position.
I understand, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, then anything else we need to consider with respect to Lazarus? Let's go ahead and get that taken care of.
Not from our side, Your Honor. I believe that was it.
Okay. All right, then let's shift gears to the Solis children. And so is Ms. Kincaid, is your client also in agreement with TMC on the girls?
Yes, she's amenable to working services, Your Honor.
All right, and I assume, let's see, Mr. Solis is in custody, correct?
Yes, Your Honor, and that's what I was meaning. We need to talk about how we're going to handle this one. We have sent out to have him served. It has not come back as served yet. I know that with the other cases, TDC was not able to get him here. I'm assuming since he's incarcerated, he would be asking for an attorney as he did in the other case, but we've not got service on him and he is still incarcerated.
All right, well, he obviously could not be immediate placement for the children. And so I want to go ahead and proceed today, but we will go ahead and appoint an attorney to represent him since he is automatically deemed indigent due to his incarceration.
Okay.
But I will allow you all to put on some, brief testimony about that. Mr. Richardson, I guess then, so that we don't have to keep you unnecessarily, I will just announce that I will follow the agreement that you and the mother have come to with the department, find that there is sufficient evidence to name the department as temporary managing conservator due to a continuing and ongoing danger to the children's health, safety, and the child's health, safety, and well-being, and that the department has made reasonable efforts to avoid the removal of the child and allow the child to remain in the home, but those efforts have not been successful. And so I will expect you all to work services. And we'll talk about that more at our next hearing about what's going to be expected. And between now and then, the department and St. Francis Ministries will be sitting down with you to go over what they think that you will need to complete for us. Because of the magistrate's protective order, obviously we can't start any kind of access or visitation until that expires. I have no control over that. Different court, different judge. So I can't do anything about it. So that being said, I will just tell you that your next hearing, Mr. Richardson, will be December 12th of 2023, and that's on a 9:00 docket. Your attorney will be sure that you know what time you need to log in. That'll be right after that order expires, so we obviously can probably take up any issue we have about visitation at that time.
Yes,
And there may not be any issue, but if we do have something, we can deal with it. So anybody have any reason that Mr. Richardson needs to stay with us, or is he free to go at this time, and also his attorney?
I have no objection, Your Honor.
No objection, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Richardson, you and Ms. Lucero are free to go. And just be sure you stay in good contact with her, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Have a good day.
Thank you, Ms. Lucero.
Thank y'all.
All right, then, regarding girls, then, Mr. Trout, if you'd like to call your first witness, we'll do what we need to do here.
Yes, ma'am. We'd call Mercedes Hodge.
Yes.
And how are you familiar with that case?
I was the investigator that was first sent out on the report received on 10/8.
Okay. And how did the department become involved in this case?
We received a report of the law enforcement having to be called to the home for a domestic violence situation.
Okay. Were you able to go out that night, or when did you first meet with the parents?
The incident happened on the 7th. The report was called in on the 8th, but it was not assigned to me till the 10th, and that's the day I went out on it.
Okay, so on the 10th, you went out to meet with try to meet with parents.
Yes.
And were you able to meet with Mr. Richardson, who was involved in the incident?
Yes, I met with him at Potter County.
And did he tell you what had happened that night, or what he recalls happened that night?
He said that it was a blur. The only thing he remembers is beforehand and then waking up in jail.
Okay. Before then, what did he tell you there?
He says that Miss Pineda invited him over to the home because she was cooking. He invited a friend. All the adults there were drinking. The children were present.
Okay. So all adults in the home that night were drinking with the children present?
Yes, that's what he stated.
All three children?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then did he say what he remembers after that?
He doesn't remember any disagreements. He remembers they were playing some video games, listening to music, having a good time. He doesn't remember the police showing up. He only remembered waking up in jail the following day.
And so he was arrested that evening?
Yes.
And what was he arrested for?
I don't recall the exact.
You don't remember what the charge was?
Mm-mm.
Were you able to meet with the mother?
Yeah, not that exact day. The following day, I did contact her over the phone to find out where the children was, but I didn't speak to her about the incident until the 11th.
Okay. And where did she say the children were?
Lazarius was the girls were with a fictive kin that they consider an aunt in San Antonio.
Okay. And so they were down in San Antonio?
Yes.
Did she say when she had sent them there?
I believe the incident happened early morning on the 7th, and later by the afternoon, she had already contacted someone to get the children to go down that day.
Okay. Did she say why she had sent them down there?
As she knew that she could be involved with the department. And this is something she's done previously.
And you said the mother's name is what?
Anna Pineda.
Okay. And did you find out who the father to the children, Elisa and Annalisa?
Yeah, she told me he was incarcerated.
And did she say what his name was?
Yes, Neil Solis.
Okay. Have you been able to speak to him?
I have not.
Okay. Do you know how long he's incarcerated for?
I believe he's serving 25 years.
And which unit was he in? Do you remember?
Colony. I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
Okay. But you have yet to be able to make contact with him?
Correct.
Okay. Did mom tell you what had happened that night?
Yes. She let me know that her story was that he left the home, that she did not say that they were there playing video games or anything, that he left the home. He had been living with them for 2 to 3 weeks. So he was out that night. She called him to see where he was. He became upset with her. She went back to sleep. When she woke up, he was there, and they started to get into an argument.
Did mom deny that it was any physical, just verbal?
She said she could not recall if he put his hands on her.
Okay.
She did state that she did not put her hands on him, though.
Okay. Did the children stay in the apartment? Were they there when this happened?
They left the apartment. They said they could hear what was going on, so they went to the next door, the next neighbor's house. Okay.
Were you ever able to speak to the children?
Christine Stutz was the investigator that spoke to them in person out in San Antonio.
Okay. All right. Now, you said mom admitted that he had been living with her for a couple weeks.
Yes.
Did she make any statements about whether he was supposed to be around them or not?
She admitted that she understood that she was advised for him not to be around. She knew that it was due to drug use and domestic violence.
And is that from any other cases that they have going on?
Yes, the previous case that they have, the current case with St. Francis.
Okay. So even though there was some issues with drug use and domestic violence in the past between them, mom was aware he was not supposed to be there, but allowed him to live with him and the children.
Yes. She said she felt bad for him.
Is the department asking for TMC today, or temporary managing conservative, of the based upon the position mom put them in with possible domestic violence in the house, knowing they're not supposed to be around them, and possible danger to the children?
Yes.
And do you believe that that's in the best interest of the child?
I do.
Are the two children? I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'll pass the witness at this time.
All right, Ms. Kincaid?
No questions, Your Honor.
Okay, and Ms. Zavala?
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Trout, any further questions of this witness?
Not of this witness at the time, Your Honor.
Okay, you can call your next witness then.
I'll call Christina Stutz. And how are you familiar with this case?
I'm the courtesy worker in San Antonio that was assigned to go interview Alyssa and Annalisa.
And when were you able to go interview them?
On the 11th of October.
And did you find out, did they tell you how old they were?
Yes. Alyssa is 10 years old and Annalise is 11 years old.
Okay. And you were able to go see them face to face, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And during your conversations with them, did they make any outcries as far as what had happened that evening?
Yes, they had.
And what did they tell you had happened?
Well, I spoke to Annalisa first because she is the one that was up and heard what was going on. So she was taking care of the baby brother. Mom had woke him up at 5 o'clock and kicked him out of her bedroom with the baby brother. She was feeding her baby brother, who is 5 months old. She was in the kitchen making him another bottle because he was fussy. She started hearing her mom yelling over a phone, she thought. She could hear fighting between the mom and I can't think of what his name is, the baby brother's father. Could hear them arguing. She heard him tell her mother to shut the F up and that she was going to kill her. She took her baby brother, went back in and woke Annalisa up. Annalisa then heard the same fighting going on and that he was yelling, if your daughters hear that, then I'm going to kill you. Annalisa went out and went to the neighbor's house and left Alyssa and her baby brother in the room. And then Alyssa got enough courage up to run to the neighbor's house with her baby brother as well. And then she asked the neighbor to call the police.
Did they ever state in this that they were, I know you said got enough courage up. Did they say that they were scared of what was happening?
Yes, they were scared of everything that was happening. They are scared of him. They're scared of their mother. They talked about them drinking shots of alcohol. The girls are very scared.
Did they like where they were placed? They were placed with Miss Jennifer?
Yes, they love it there.
And they felt safe there?
Yes, they definitely feel safe.
Was there any talk of, I retract that. Did you said that one of the girls was feeding the baby? Yes,
Alyssa, the little one.
Did she state to you whether that is a normal occurrence for her? Does she normally take care of the baby, or is it?
Yes, her and her sister Annalisa said Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday they are the caretaker for their baby brother because their mother likes to drink and get drunk.
Did they make any other outcries to you?
They did say that he had been living with them. He moved in a couple of days after they went back to live with their mother. And so the fighting was normal. That was the worst at that time.
But to them, it seemed to be, to you, did it seem to be kind of traumatic for them to be having to hear that?
They were scared. That was the worst, and they were scared. They knew they needed to call 911. Alyssa said she was scared to be taken away because she didn't want to be in the system. Alyssa did not care if she was in the system. She was scared, and she wanted the police to be called.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Kincaid.
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Zavala.
No questions, Your Honor.
All right. Any further questions for Ms. Stutz?
No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Counsel, any objection to Ms. Stutz going ahead and leaving us and going on about her day today?
No objection.
No objection.
All right, Ms. Stutz, thank you so much for logging in. I appreciate your help with the girls. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a great day.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Stutz.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, Mr. Trout, any further witnesses?
I'd call Ms. Hodge back real quick, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Hodge, you're still under oath. Let me, I want one clarification. So that I've heard, I think, two different names, but the girls are placed, is it Jessica Campa or Jennifer Campa?
I'm sorry.
It's Jessica.
It's Jessica. I think I said Jennifer. I apologize. It is Jessica.
No, I just want to make sure. So,
And that
all right. No problem. You may proceed.
Ms. Hodge, real quick, we heard earlier mom's attorney say that mom would be in agreement with working services. The children are placed with Miss Campa down in San Antonio. That was after the department was given custody of the kids on the removal. Kids were placed back in that placement. Is that correct?
Yes, they remain there.
Okay. And the kids are doing well.
As far as I know, yes.
Okay. Did mom give you any other names of anybody that she would want the children to go to?
That was her primary person that she would like them to remain with.
Okay. Did she give any other possible names on her placement sheet?
Linda Del Toro, I believe, is an aunt that had her older children previously or currently.
Okay. So that is mom's aunt, so the great aunt to the kids?
Yes. I believe so.
And as far as dad, you have not been able to talk to him. You don't know if there's any family that he would request.
I sent in the paperwork, but I haven't received anything back.
Okay, so you did mail out all the paperwork to him?
Yes.
Okay, you just haven't received anything back from that?
Correct.
And again, you believe it's in the best interest of the children to remain in care at this time?
Yes.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Ms. Kincaid, any questions?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Fowler?
No questions, Your Honor.
All right. Anything further, Mr. Trout?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. Does the department rest?
Department rest.
All right. And Ms. Kincaid, I realize your client is in agreement, but anything to present today? Any witnesses?
No, Your Honor, I'd rest.
Okay. And Ms. Zavala?
No witnesses. I rest.
All right. And just for the record, Mr. Solis, I have a notice serving about a 25-year sentence at this current time. All right, Ms. Zavala, do you have a recommendation to make to the court?
Yes, Your Honor. It is my recommendation that the children remain in the temporary managing conservatorship of the department. I have been able to visit with them. They are doing well. I do ask that placement continue and the girls not be moved unless there's agreement or an order.
I know I'm kind of going out of Lazarus. Is he currently with paternal grandparents? I know he was there for a brief time, but
he is not
there, right? Okay.
He's in a foster placement here in town.
Okay.
and actually, I do want to clarify if the home study comes back on relatives for him and it looks okay and everybody's good with it, then I don't believe I'll have an objection to that. It's mostly the girls that I wanted to make sure that they're not moved unless there's a hearing or agreement.
All right. Then I will find also in the case on the Solis girls that the evidence is sufficient to name the Department of Family Protective Services as the temporary managing conservator of the children based on a continuing and ongoing danger to the children's health, safety, and well-being. Find that the department has used and made reasonable efforts to avoid the removal of the children from the home due to kind of a long history and cycle that we've been experiencing with Ms. Pineda in the case, and the fact that Mr. Solis is incarcerated for a very long period of time, that the children cannot be returned safely home to either parent at this time. Again, I will expect Ms. Pineda to work services, Mr. Solis, what he can do, which is going to obviously be limited. I do agree with Ms. Zavala that there shouldn't be any change in the girls' placement unless there's an agreement or we have a hearing on that matter. Children are very, very happy where they're at. Report feeling, very, very safe and secure. And clearly their desire at this point in time is to remain in that home. So, okay. Our next hearing will be our status hearing, and that will be on December 12th of 2023. And that'll be on a 9 o'clock docket. I also would like to inquire whether or not CASA will have an advocate to appoint to these cases. I think in particular, the girls would benefit from, that role and that relationship with a CASA advocate. So Ms. Katie, if you will, please reach out and find out if they've got someone available to assign to these cases. I would greatly appreciate it. Okay. Yes, thank you all very much. And I think that covers it. I think we've already addressed the home study on the other case, so I think we're good. All right. I appreciate everybody. Thank you all very much for working things out. And I'll see you hearing December 12th. We are conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of parties. And Ms. Taylor is making our record. We're live streaming. Okay, we'll take announcements.
Daniel Trial for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Jennifer Campos is my privacy specialist. We're present, ready, Your Honor.
Bailey Sapien on behalf of Michael Ballard. My client is also present and we are ready.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of Sarai, here and ready.
All right. What do we have new then since the court report was filed?
Since the court report was filed, Sarai has been doing decent at placement. She did have an altercation on Sunday with another girl in the home and was arrested and taken to the juvenile detention center just kind of for a cool-off period. That's kind of how they worded it. There were no charges going to be filed against her. She's doing good in school. She still seems to think, things should go her way, which I guess at 14, that's probably how I thought too. But trying to get her, to still understand that it's not that way. She still has to follow rules and stuff like that. But other than that, she's doing good. Mr. Ballard has started counseling. His first counseling session was October 27th, and he'll be going every week. And he also has rational behavior therapy November 9th, and that's his last service.
Okay. All right, and still no progress with mom Is that correct?
No, ma'am. That's correct.
Okay. Okay. Ms. Sabian, anything to report?
Just what Ms. Campos just said. My client is starting counseling and going to rational behavior. The only thing I would like, or Mr. Ballard would like, is if we could start counseling with him and Sarai to rebuild that relationship. I don't know if that's possible right now since he's just starting his counseling, but if it is, I know that's something he would like to be able to participate in.
And I can ask Derek Malam, which is his counselor, if he could do the family therapy as well.
Okay. And that's all, Judge. Does anyone have, Stacy, do you have concerns about that?
I have no concerns about that. I think it's a great idea. My visit with Sarai was before this incident. I hated to hear that it happened, and I hope to talk with her soon to find out. But very much she was interested in trying to redevelop that relationship with her dad. So I think that would be a good move. In general, I thought she was really improving at this placement, and it felt like she had a good connection at that placement. So I hope that's still in place. But I'm all for Sarai and Dad working on their relationship.
Okay. And apologize, I've slept since then, but I know that there was a request for extension in the case, and I'm not sure I've signed that yet. My apologies, y'all. I'm not sure if I think it may even be sitting in my queue, but this had been scheduled for a final, correct? And everybody had agreed to the extension to continue to work with the child and to also continue with child and improvement of child and father's relationship.
That's correct, Your Honor. The child and dad here lately have kind of changed their thoughts on it and want to try to work toward reunification. Mr. Ballard, as they just stated, has started on some services that needed to be done. So we needed some more time to let those things happen.
Okay. Well, I know that we had gone for a great length of time where the child was not really wanting to participate and not wanting a relationship with dad. So, I'm going to find that there's extraordinary circumstances that would warrant the extension in the case because child has had, I'd say a significant change of heart, and that we've got, I think, some facilitating and work that we can do there to try to make this a success. So, I will grant the extension as requested. We will set a new dismissal date. Have y'all done that yet, Mr. Trout?
Leave.
While he's working on that, then I will continue the child's current placement, and perfectly fine with all the family therapy that we can start working in. I think it's time, and I think we need to do all that we can. So that being said, I will announce that our next review hearing is February 27th of 2024. That's a 9:00 docket. And then we will reset our final hearing for April 23rd of 2024 on a 9:00 docket. And the new dismissal date will be, drum roll,
May 3rd of 2024.
Okay, May 3rd of 2024.
And Your Honor, I apologize. Sarai did want me to bring up one thing that I didn't just now.
Sure.
She really, really wants to have an in-person visit with her sister, Manai. She is not in care. I don't know what possibilities we have for that. I also don't know if this new incident has made it a little more difficult in terms of bringing her up here. Sister's located here in Amarillo, is my understanding. But that is a big desire. And she had asked me specifically to address that with you.
What's your feeling about it? Any concerns about it, Ms. Zavala?
In theory, I would love for them to have contact as much as possible. Sarai seems to have, before this incident, to have made some really good progress. I am a little bit worried about the possibility of running or things like that. But I also think if that relationship could be healthy, it could be a very important one for her. So I would love to see whatever we can do to develop that, to keep that relationship, continuing to develop it, but also keep Sarai safe.
Well, if we transported and that visitation was supervised, does that alleviate any concern about, or hopefully concern about running or anything like that?
I do think that would. She also wants to include, and I don't know if it's two nephews or a niece and a nephew in that visit. Manai does have two kids.
Yeah,
she wants to see all three of them.
Manai just actually had the second baby, I believe a week or two ago, maybe. So Manai is not going to be able to travel with the baby. So we would have to bring Sarai here.
Okay. So what does that look like? Yeah, I mean, we want to support family connection, obviously. And it may be just that the timing may not be quite right yet, Ms. Zavala, but if we brought Sarai here, just what does that look like?
We would have our transport team possibly bring her back here. I would think it would be like maybe an overnight visit. I mean, because she is 10 hours away from here. And then have transport possibly take her back, as long as we have a transporter available for that. And we could set up a date. I would have to ask Jeannie or Manai's mother to see if she could possibly stay there or what we need to do on that, and see who we can get to supervise it.
And remind me where Mr. Ballard lives.
Mr. Ballard lives here.
Okay. Could we have possible, face-to-face therapeutic type, family therapy type visit in the course of this?
Sure would make sense to me to incorporate both of those.
Okay. Mr. Ballard, how do you feel about that? Yes, sir.
Oh, yes, ma'am. I'd love to have any type of visit with my daughter. I haven't seen her in quite a while. So, yes, I'd love to visit with her and kind of see how she's doing for myself.
Well, I think there's almost no way not to make this overnight. So if we can get it all kind of put together and get her here, and certainly to have a visit with sibling and the niece and nephew, and then, I would really like to see some time with Dad, obviously.
Right.
Even more importantly. So let's just everybody put your heads together and let's see what we can come up with.
And Your Honor, on one other note, since we are kind of working toward trying to get back to daughter and dad back together, we haven't been able to see inside of Dad's house. So we would need to, before make sure everything's appropriate in the house, we would need to get in the house.
Okay, Mr. Ballard, that's pretty standard protocol. You can allow this
that's fine.
Access?
Yes, ma'am, that's fine.
Okay. So you understand, I mean, they could just come out and knock on your door anytime, and if you're home, you need to let them in.
Right. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So they may make announced visits and they may make unannounced visits.
Yes, ma'am.
And you understand that you need to let them in?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay. All right, because that's part of the whole thing is,
right.
We need to make sure that your home is ready and appropriate for Sarai to come home to.
Right. Okay. That's fine.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, then. As stated, I'll grant the extension. We'll set the new dismissal date, May 3rd, 2024, and we'll continue the department, temporary manager conservator, continued placement. And I do want St. Francis to work on this, getting this visit. The visit in Amarillo. And our next hearing, then, I think I already announced February 27th. So I'll see y'all then.
Okay.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Here today, in both cases, for review hearings, we are conducting these through Zoom under finding a good cause and consent and agreement of the parties. We are live streaming, and Ms. Taylor is making our record. Okay, we'll take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Michaela Kurtzy is my pregnancy specialist. We are present, ready, Your Honor.
Ethan Murphy here on behalf of the mother, Anna Pineda. We are both present, ready, Your Honor.
Joel Jackson, the father, Neil Solis. I'm present. My client's incarcerated and he couldn't be available today. Ready, Your Honor.
Jeff Hill on behalf of the father, Elvin Smith, in the 96904 case. I do not see him present, Judge. I haven't been able to reach him the last couple times I've tried. So unless somebody else has notified him of the hearing, I don't anticipate that he's going to be here.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of Neil, who goes by Andrew, and Emma.
Carla King with Amarillo Casa.
All right, thank you all very much. All right, then, and just because of the similar names, Ms. Zavala, obviously the Neil she's referring to is the child. What do we have news since court reports were filed?
Good morning, Your Honor. As far as the children's well-being, to kind of start off with, Andrew's just been having some struggles lately, some behavioral issues and issues at school. He's 13 years old in 7th grade. He's struggling with some of his classes right now. He's falling behind. I have gone to the school. I've talked to him about it and talked to placement about all of the different things that they could do to kind of get him on path and track with that. He's getting a tutor. He's getting extra help in the classes, and he feels confident that he's going to be able to get back to where he needs to be. As far as behaviorally speaking, he's having some issues in the home where he's kind of being mean to his younger sister, acting up, not really listening the way that he needs to be listening. He got in trouble last month for vaping. He tried to start a fire and starting some paper on fire in the church basement. And he's just really had a defiance against just women in general. So as far as correcting his behavior and moving forward, we're trying to get this placement into this new program that would get her licensed as kind of like a therapeutic placement. She is willing to keep both kids and adopt them in the case that parental rights are terminated. So that kind of helps with Andrew for him to be thinking on terms of, you know, he's not going to get kicked out or anything like that. So that's one thing that's kind of helped him having some idea of what's going on with the case. Yesterday, he had a psychiatric appointment, so we're trying to get him help on that front as well. He's involved in counseling still, and he is getting letters from his dad that he's reviewing. Most of his behaviors, I will say, are pretty reactive to things that are going on in the case. So anytime something happens with mom, a visit is missed or canceled or she's late or, you know, as of recently, the removal, we can definitely see his behavior spike. I do think he's been kind of using it as a crutch a little bit. He'll do something and use it as an excuse, but I know that they are correlated. So that's where we're at with Andrew. Emma's doing amazing. She's 7 years old, 1st grade, good grades, no health problems, no behavioral issues, happy in place. She's on a good path. I do want to say that Andrew, even though he's having these issues and these behavioral problems, he is in a place where he is loved and supported. And I wouldn't recommend any type of change of placement. You know what I mean? We're just going to try to keep giving him all of the support, get him leveled up, and see if we can give him more services and get him the help that he needs. But we all are on a game plan for it. So we do have some new issues that have been arising with visits. Several visits have been missed, canceled from Anna. There have been late, where Anna shows up late to the visitations. In the last 2 months, she's canceled 4 visits. The one visit that I watched, Anna was 20 minutes late. I spoke to the kids. Emma said that she's late often. She told me that she always does this. Andrew talked to me and was saying that, you know, he was really upset that his mom only has 1 hour a week to visit him and that she is late to some of them and then also cancels the visits. At this point, I've heard from the placement that the kids are wanting to cancel visits. I'm scheduled to talk to them next week in person and see how they go. At this time, honestly, they're getting drove from Tulia to Amarillo for these visitations and then getting visits canceled 5 minutes after they start. So they get drove all the way to Amarillo for a visit to cancel. With that being said, they're pretty upset about a lot of that kind of stuff. And I don't think that it's, in their best interest to force them to be driving around to try to accommodate. I would say that those are all of the updates that I have on the children. Do you have any questions for me in regards to the kids before I jump into the parents?
I don't at this moment.
Okay, perfect. So then I will just kind of jump into mom in the case and the updates that I have. There have been quite a few updates, quite a few things going on. I've been assigned to this case for 7 months, and I can say that every month has been some kind of regression, repetitive behaviors, and dangerous things going on. And I won't go into huge detail about this because all of this was put into the court report. So I'll just kind of touch on a couple of different topics that we have going on. So Anna was in the relationship with Xavier. There was concern from the beginning, and it's just kind of spiraled for the last 6 months, I would say, ranging from fights that happened at visits that were supposed to be unsupervised. Those had to be canceled. Incidences of domestic violence in the home in July, where children were present, a public intoxication charge and that one was in July as well, which led to arrests, probation violations. August, there was another arrest due to a warrant that was involving a domestic violence incident that occurred with Anna. And then in October, the new removal, which was also revolving around a domestic violence incident with Anna. All of these incidences have happened within a month prior to what was originally set to that final date to present time. So they are current and they do keep happening. And I've tried to explain to Anna time and time again that the acts themselves are dangerous. But what's extremely concerning to the department at this time is her lack to recognize how they're affecting her children. I don't know if I can have any more conversations than what I have trying to get her to realize that and how they're affecting the kids. Let's see. As far as the family plan goes, you can go through the family plan and see that she has marked off. I mean, she has a house. Is it a safe and stable living environment? No, with the domestic violence. Does she have a job? Yes. Has she shown pay stubs or shown reliable transportation? No. She's completed the parenting classes. Has she shown any change behavior to making responsible parenting choices? No. And I mean, you can go down the line. Everything that we've asked her to do, she's gone to the class, but she just hasn't shown any progress in her decision making. It's as far as mom's progress, I really don't have anything to report other than going backwards. And like I said, I don't want to get too deep into it unless you want me to, but just kind of touching base on where we are. I'm very concerned about her current relationship, yes, but this has been a pattern of behavior that keeps showing up. I mean, Neil suffers on a day-to-day basis from a traumatic brain injury that he got in result from a domestic violence relationship that Anna was in, and has continued, that kind of decision-making for herself and her kids. And I just can't get her to recognize that it's affecting more than just her. They're both very, very smart kids. And at this point, being 15 months into the case, their bond should be stronger than ever with their mom. And their bond just progressively keeps falling apart. So there's nothing positive to report on that. I think that the biggest obstacle at this time is waiting out this case to see if, one, Anna can not only change her behaviors, but change that decision-making process that she has. But two, even if she does, with the remaining couple of months that we have, the question is if that amount of time is going to be enough time to kind of correct the last 15 months of negative decision-making. So we definitely have some safety concerns with mom. As far as Elvin goes, Elvin Smith, father of Emma, I've sent him to drug screen every month, no response, no answers to my phone calls. I'm kind of to the point where I'm also sending him letters, trying to get in contact with him. Haven't heard anything. Confirmed with Derek Milam that he hasn't set up any of those therapeutic visits or tried to reach out. Neil Solis, on the other hand, I have had contact with. He probably sends me a letter every week, whether it be to me or to Andrew, and I've been passing those on to Andrew. But I haven't gotten any certifications of completion of any services that he's done while incarcerated.
And the letters that he sends, as I recall, have been appropriate.
Yes, Your Honor, they've been appropriate. It's honestly, he's trying to be as encouraging as he can to his son, which is good to hear.
But he is incarcerated, I mean, for quite a lengthy time. I mean, I think his sentence was 25 years, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do we know what his projected release date is? I know we've probably talked about it before, but
I don't know the exact release date, but I do know that Andrew would be 18 by the time that happens.
Yeah, I was thinking it was something like 2034 or something.
I think that's right.
Okay.
Judge, I'm sorry. I'm looking here. The projected release date is March 29th of 2033, and he's parole eligible August 3rd of 2024.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Murphy.
Yeah, sure. First of all, I'd like to disagree with the way that Michaela characterized most of what's going on. Ms. Pineda has worked all her services. Has been asked of her. She's done every class that's been asked of her. She's obtained housing. She's obtained a job. She's done everything that's been asked of her. As far as the multiple incidents that Michaela's referenced, as far as domestic violence, I'm only aware of one alleged incident of domestic violence throughout the entire case. I know there have been multiple times when there were arguments, but I'm only aware of one incident where there's even an allegation that there was anything physical that occurred in the home. As far as Ms. Pineda's continued behavior, I'm only aware of one incident throughout the entire case where she allegedly had consumed alcohol, and that was resolved several months ago. And she took active steps to resolve all of her pending legal issues as a result of that. So I don't agree with the characterization that it's been an ongoing issue. But as far as updates on Ms. Pineda, like I said, she's got a job, she's got a house, she's worked all her services, and she's done everything that's been asked of her throughout this case.
Well, let's just talk about some of those things. So, Ms. Kirksey, I think you made reference about her job. Have you received any wage verification?
No, ma'am, I haven't.
And Ms. Pineda told me that she has provided those. I've got copies of the pay stubs at my office. I can get delivered to Ms. Kirksey.
Okay, that'd be helpful.
Sure.
All right, and what about the stability of housing, Ms. Kirksey?
So the stability of housing, we do not consider her housing situation a safe placement at this time, a safe home in general. She did move in a couple of months ago into a new apartment. I believe she was getting evicted, is what she said, out of the previous one. One of the parts and one of the requests that we have with these housings is also that they're able to show that they can stay on top of their bills. I believe in the month of June, there was a CPI investigation going on where they had to go in and pay over $1,000 of her electricity bills to get those turned back on. And like I said, there are confirmed incidences, not only with APD, but also confirmed after a conversation with Anna Pineda of domestic violence that has happened in that home.
So the current home she's in, this apartment, she's only been there for a few months?
Yes, Your Honor.
And she's indicated that prior to that, then she was evicted.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, all right. So I guess, Mr. Murphy, what we're looking for is, some kind of long-term stability in a home. So
yes, right.
Maybe she's got 2 months behind her, and that's good. So let's hope she stays on top of it. Okay.
Yes,
because of the new, let me just ask Ms. Kirksey, because of the new charge that was brought against her, which was alcohol related, are we asking her to go back and do another OSAR? Are we asking her to go back into any kind of, substance abuse treatment, or is she doing that through probation, or what's the status of that?
She's supposed to be completing AA classes through probation. I haven't gotten any confirmation of that. I've also tried to reach out to her probation officer. She's kind of a hard one to get a hold of, so I don't have confirmation that she has. With that being said, the extension that happened with this case was out of hopes that we were going to reach mediation, we had our goal changes. So we didn't create a follow-up family plan of service for her, asking her to do further services, just because we were under the impression that we were going into mediation and the case was going to end. At this point, I mean, I would definitely recommend it, especially with this, further extension being set, because we do have several different concerns. This case I feel like has kind of been in limbo, so we weren't sure, we're kind of going for the end of it, and then it, keeps kind of spreading out. So if that's something that you would recommend as well, I would love to put another family plan together for the last couple months even.
Mr. Murray, do you have any opposition to them trying to, continue to work with her or to add anything in and see if we can't be successful?
I'm confident Ms. Pineda would be happy to follow through with the services. She's, like I said, she's worked all her services so far. She's done everything that's been asked of her. Just to clarify what happened with the issue, what Michaela described as an ongoing issue, Ms. Pineda was on probation before this case began. She had one incident in, I think it was June or July. There was a public intoxication charge. She dealt with that at the time. However, because she was on probation when it happened, the probation then issued a revocation of her probation, which caused that same issue to come up again. Knowing that warrant had been issued, she took proactive steps to get that resolved and worked out a deal with the county attorney's office to get that resolved so that she wouldn't have that outstanding warrant. This came up, she had an interaction with the police when she called the police to report a issue. At that time was when she was arrested and was immediately let out because she already made arrangements to deal with this public intoxication causing the revocation of the probation.
And Ms. Murphy, I know that on the new removals that have been filed and implemented, we had adversary hearings on those this morning, and Ms. Pineda did agree. I mean, her attorney was present, and she was not, but she had communicated with her attorney and agreed to name the department temporary managing. But there was testimony given this morning that raises a great deal of concerns with the court about ongoing alcohol abuse in the home. And even though law enforcement may not have been involved in that, there is substantial evidence in these new cases that we not only have a little bit of alcohol abuse, but we got a lot of it. So, I'll let you and your client discuss that, but I understand that testimony isn't being presented in this case right now in this hearing, because this is just a review hearing, but I will just tell you, as of this morning, this court heard a lot of very concerning things about the safety of that home for young children. I will just, I still want to hear from everybody, obviously, but I will say it is, of course, now standing order of this court that disputed cases will mediate. The court, as to all those kind of standing orders, would find at times there are probably exceptions to that, but I clearly think this case would benefit from it. We have 5 children in care right now, not just these 2 that we're talking about at the moment, but we have 3 others. And so, the longer this thing has gone on, the more complicated it's gotten. Mr. Hill, I realize you don't really have contact with your client, and it would be very difficult for you to participate in mediation. But, and I certainly recognize that. So if you don't make contact with him, there's not much you can really do, and I probably wouldn't even require you to be present. But if other issues in the case could be possibly streamlined or simplified or resolved, obviously I think it's still worth going to mediation. So anyway.
In your honor, we have mediated once on this case. During that one, Mr. Jackson's client, the prisons got put in lockdown, so his client was not able to, and we couldn't get back in touch with Mr. Smith to get him on. So, but we have attempted at a mediation on this. We just had some issues with Dad's being there. But that was a couple months ago. Just to let the court know, we have.
Okay. All right. So then, you all have met your requirement, unless anybody thinks it's a good idea to try to reconvene and go back. So
I'll definitely get in touch with everybody and see if we think that's a way we need to go, or we can do some sort of informal conference and get everybody together. before the final set on these cases. We'll try to get something done.
The big concern that I have, is obviously that we are scheduled for a final in these two cases on January 16th of 2024. We have an absolute drop dead dismissal date of January 19th. These two cases have been extended to continue to work primarily with mom. Obviously, Mr. Solis is incarcerated. He's limited in what he can do. Mr. Smith has been AWOL. So, the extension was granted, really, at mom's behest and to her benefit. And so, we will go to trial in January. And we're still, 15 months into it, we're still in a very concerning spot. So, all I can do is encourage Ms. Pineda to make the best use of the next several months that she can, because I have no ability to stop that clock. Okay. Mr. Hill, anything to report, sir?
No, ma'am. I don't. Well, very briefly, Ms. King contacted me by email here recently, indicating that she has had contact with Mr. Smith. And per her, Mr. Smith is stating that he's not received any information regarding his child, and he's not having any visits. Now, I know that therapeutic visitation was ordered earlier in this case, but again, I have had very poor luck to no luck getting in touch with him. So I can only do what I can do to help him if he contacts me.
I understand. Ms. King, do you have good, at least what appears to be still working contact information for him?
I contact him on his cell phone, Your Honor. He has answered, and I can tell he's at work. That was like on October 4th was the last time I spoke with him. But he did say, hey, I'd like a relationship with Emma. However, he's not communicating back and forth to St. Francis pharmacy specialist. He says he doesn't even have a service plan, and he shouldn't have to work one. He is a non-offending parent. He said he's been cooperative. He basically is just answering my questions. I cannot understand from him exactly what he means when he says he's attempted to have a visit with Emma. When I asked him to describe it, he just described, maybe trying to drive up to Amarillo area to see Emma, but he didn't really indicate that he was trying any further. Yes, I believe he'll answer my phone call to answer your question, Your Honor.
Well, if you have any future contact with him, all I can do is ask you to tell him how important it is that he call his lawyer.
That was discussed.
And Miss Kirksey, obviously. Yeah. Okay. All right, then, Mr. Jackson.
Just a quick question. Miss Kirksey, you were saying that the kids, when they do their visits, they drive. I didn't catch the town that the kids are placed in. What town are they placed in?
Yes, sir. They're placed in Tulia, and they're transported by St. Francis Ministries from Tulia to Amarillo for the visit.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Zavala.
Your Honor, the placement for Emma and Andrew is a good, supportive, loving one. I do believe that should continue. I know there have been a number of meetings to try to figure out how best to kind of wrap around Andrew and help him with some of his needs. I've talked to him a little bit about that. He has definitely been in a more heightened state of anxiety regarding the removal of his sisters. He very much wanted his sisters to be placed with him and his aunt in Tulia. I think because of reasons that have more to do with the sisters and their school and their comfort level right now, my recommendation this morning was that the girls remain where they are, not because placement with aunt would be a bad one, and not because the girls have any negative feelings towards aunt at all. So it's kind of just a fine line. They are settled right now. They're enrolled in school. They're doing good. But that was a concern for Andrew. He's worried about his sisters. So I do want to make sure, and I think everybody will cooperate to make this happen. I want to make sure they're having regular, online contact where he can see them and see that they're doing well, because it really has made him quite anxious for their well-being. But I have no doubt that the two placements will work very well together to make that happen. As far as the visits with mom, that is another huge stressor on Andrew, is when those get canceled last minute or are running late. And it is just incredibly hard on him. I think at the very least, we should do something where mom needs to confirm the visit ahead of time before they get in a car and start driving to Amarillo for that visit. I think Andrew, I believe at this point that he would still like those visits, but right now the stress of them and whether they're going to happen and whether they're not is too much for him. And it may have gotten to the point, it's been a week or two since I've talked to him, and I haven't talked to him after this recent missed visit, but it may have gotten to a point where he's saying, I can't do this anymore. And I don't think it's in either of their best interest to continue in that pattern. In terms of Emma and Dad, I do think that if we start that contact back up, it needs to be after Dad has reached out and communicated, and it needs to be in a therapeutic type setting. So I would ask for that as well if Dad does resurface. I think that was everything I was going to hit on them, but the placement where they are is loving and supportive, and even if Andrew's struggling right now, it's not because of the placement, and I do believe that placement should continue.
Mr. Smith is just an alleged father. I mean, he's not been adjudicated. He's not presumed. We don't even at this point know, I suppose, with a degree of certainty that he is the dad. Mr. Hill, I know you've had a little contact. I don't know if there's been any contact or any conversation with anybody, with Miss Kirksey or Miss King. If he's made any comment, I don't know that I'm the dad or.
He's indicated to me anyway that he believes he's the father.
Okay. Don't remember. He may have. Let's just look. I can't remember if we personally served him or if he was by publication when you got appointed.
I apologize. I'm at the courthouse in Canyon operating off myself, so I don't have that information in front of me.
It's okay. I'm trying to see if I can't see
Your Honor,
it.
One of the earlier hearings, towards the very beginning, I know that he appeared, and I know there was some discussion at that point with him, possibly even an adjudication, but maybe not if it's not documented there.
I know we adjudicated Mr. Police.
Your Honor, he is the father.
And Ms. Pineda, I understand it's kind of a legal thing. Your attorney.
No. We went to court for it and everything.
Judge, there's a transferring case from Swisher County.
Okay.
On this, and I think that's where he may be. He was found to be the father in Swisher County in
yes.
2017.
All right. Perfect. That answers that question. And he did, in his statement of procedures, I just pulled it up. He did check that he acknowledged he's the biological father. But if we got a court order, then we're good. So okay. So we'll get that reflected that he's an adjudicated father.
And Your Honor, one other thing that I meant to say in terms of mediation, I know we had a good faith attempt at mediation. I will say that the parties are further away now than they were then. I don't know that there is any benefit at all as we get closer towards a final. I think any parties are open to discuss it at that point, but I don't know that if positions haven't changed that there's any reason to do an additional mediation at this time.
That's fine. You all have attempted it. That's you fulfilled your requirement with this court. If Mr. Trout wants to circulate an email that says anybody interested in doing an informal settlement conference, and you can say yes or no, and I'm not going to order it. Yeah. I mean, I think you've attempted, so I'm not going to waste anybody's time. So, Ms. Kirksey, do we have anything in place right now for mom to give notice about visitations?
No, Your Honor, we don't.
Okay, well, I'm gonna order that Ms. Pineda have to confirm when are visits. That'll help me.
Visits are every Monday for 1 hour at 5 p.m.
At 5 p.m.
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, can I say something?
Yes, ma'am.
I have always tried making my visits. I've gotten lifts. I've taken lifts home. I've asked people for rides, and the only time I've ever been canceled or that I don't show up is if I'm having car trouble or I'm really, really sick. And I do my best as not having a license. I'm not a licensed driver, and it's not an excuse, but I promise, Your Honor, I know the kind of stress it puts on my kids because they do go to school and they have to drive an hour. And, if I ever do cancel, it has been an hour, not an hour. It's been when I know that I'm sick and I can't make it, or if I'm going to be late, I would tell Aaron that I was running late only for having car troubles, or my lift was late. Because the lifts, it says like it's going to be there in 15 minutes or it takes longer. And then the drive itself, because they are, they have to drive appropriately. I mean, they're not in a rush or anything. So, I mean, they do get me there safely. But there's been times, yes, Your Honor, but it's only because of I'm trying to do the right thing and get a lift, get a ride any way I can. And it's never been that I don't want to see them or I don't understand the situation. It's never that. I look forward to seeing my kids every week.
Ms. Kirksey, I mean, have these been absolute no call, no shows, or does she at least contact?
So she does contact. So I have 10:30 visit canceled, 10:09 visit canceled, 10:02 she was late, 20 minutes late, didn't let me know until after the visit had already started. 9:25.
I had let Aaron know.
Hang on, Ms. Pineda, hang on. I'll come back. I'll come back to Ms. Pineda. You can't interrupt because the court reporter can't take both of you down at the same time, and then she really can't do it when I have to jump in the mix. Okay. So let Ms. Kirksey finish, and I'll come back to you.
9:25 canceled, 9:11 canceled. So I have 4 missed cancels, 1 late visit in the last 2 months, just to be specific. She does notify. It's just the matter of time that she notifies that isn't working for the kids. For an example, yesterday they made it all the way to Amarillo, and I got a text at 5:05 from Anna that she wasn't going to be able to make it to her visit. By that time, the children had already been in the car driving an hour and then have to turn around, drive an hour back home, miss dinner time. It's super stressful for them. I truly think if we do set up some kind of order like you were suggesting to get her to check in at least an hour before to confirm those visits, that would be appropriate and hopefully help mitigate some of these concerns. I do ask that we get some clarity as far as if the children, like I said, next week I'm going to speak to the kids. I've been told that they don't want to go to visits anymore. And honestly, the fact that I've sat there while Emma sits at the door and eats fruit snacks and waits on mom to show up to the visit crying, I also agree that they shouldn't have to if they do not want to. So if they don't want to attend these visits, I would love to hear your thoughts on it as far as court-ordered visitation of whether or not it's required.
Well, here's what I'm going to do about all of that. I'm going to require Ms. Pineda to give notice by 3 p.m. on the day of visits to confirm that she will be there timely or that she's canceling. I am not going to put that ball in the children's court at this point as far as they're wanting or not wanting. I mean, I think it needs to be presented to them that those, the visit's going to happen as long as mom has already met her 3 p.m. deadline. And Ms. Pineda, let me just tell you, that doesn't mean 3:05. That means you need to text on or before 3 p.m. your intent about the visit. I'm not going to have the kids continuously disappointed. I mean, it is
absolutely. I understand.
You know, it's not just your children; it's all our children. When parents cancel and miss and are late, and you know, and listen, they're smart kiddos. When they know you've got an hour a week with them, and then someone's parents 20 minutes late, it isn't just your kids; it's all our kids. It disappoints the heck out of them, and I'm not going to let that continue. So you've got to text timely, call, communicate timely. So if you haven't communicated before 3, by 3 o'clock on the dot, come 3:01, the visit's not going to happen.
Yes, ma'am. I definitely understand.
They've got to have some degree of certainty.
Absolutely, I agree.
So I'm going to say the visits will continue. I understand that children may not want to do it, but we're going to continue to try. Now, I'm not certainly suggesting that placement has to pick the children up and physically carry them out and strap them in the back of the car. And I mean, we've all been there. We've all dealt with that. But let's encourage and continue to make it work as long as mom complies with these new rules. If it gets really bad, Ms. Zavala knows how to call up here and set a hearing.
Yes, ma'am. Would there be any way to have okay, so I only see them once a week. Is there any way that I can maybe video chat with them so we can have more of, a connection than just the 1 hour a week? I mean, or a little bit longer than the 1 hour. And it's hard for them also, Your Honor, because they go to school. And by the time we actually have a visit, maybe on the weekend or something, a couple more hours, so they're not stressed out throughout the week going to school and traveling or whatever. I really think that would help a lot.
I think it would help you a lot. I'm not sure it would help the children a lot. And based on what I heard this morning, I'm going to deny that request.
Okay.
Yeah, bottom line, Ms. Pineda, you are up against a very big wall right now because you're running out of time. And, I've been involved with this the entire time. And I mean, we are in a cycle that just seems to never break. So, I'm not going to increase anything at this point in time because I think it's just hard on the kids. And that's my opinion. And so, all right, then, Ms. Zavala, anything further today than what we've already talked about?
I think that was everything I was going to cover.
All right. Ms. King.
Thank you, Your Honor. I know in lieu of hearing everything that's been testified to, I'm not going to go back over that, but Costa has got grave concerns regarding safety of these children, not in their current placement, but if they were to be reunified with their parent. And Ms. Pineda has had 2 instances, one September, one October, of course, for domestic violence, and it was dangerous. So our concern also lies with the visitation, and I'm seeing a gap of therapeutic services for this family. I believe that where the children are currently placed, she has a lot of support from the child placing agency to help Andrew Neal, and Emma. That child placing agency has met with us as well as St. Francis permanency specialists and the supervisor to explain those services, and I think they're wonderful for the children. However, working with the mother as far as therapeutic services, I'm not seeing that. And granted, yes, she has done the checkoff list on her family service plan. Did she gain anything from that? Not by the, I'm not seeing any changes in her behavior. No, I'm not. So I think that, yes, the recommending the placement where they're still at is, I highly recommend that. They are in a great, safe environment, but I'm not seeing a therapist that is actually being able to even recommend visitation at this point from what I'm hearing today. And I think sometimes, it's best that the way I've always looked at it is we talk to a therapist about how the children feel about visitation with their parent or parents. So that's where we're at as far as recommendations and concerns.
All right, and I'm in my ruling, Ms. Kirksey. I'm going to circle back around to something that you raised as far as any additional services. So I haven't forgotten you. All right, I'm going to make a finding that there's a continuing and ongoing danger to these children to return them home today. To any parent. One, we're not sure where he is. One's incarcerated, and we've just done another removal of children from the home of mother. And I've just entered, temporary orders in that case today. So clearly, I'm not prepared to find that it's safe to send these children home. I'm going to continue the department as temporary managing conservator. I'm going to continue the children's placements. I'm ordering mother to give that confirmation on or before 3 p.m. of her day, the day her visits occur, that she will be in attendance. If notice is not given before that time, or there's just no notice at all, then of course the visit isn't going to occur. I'm not going to order mom to do any further services. She has worked our services, and she's crossed those things off her list. However, I will say, if mom requests any additional services, that St. Francis and or the department will make those referrals and we'll pay for them. But we reach a point where I can order her to go to counseling from now until the sun doesn't rise anymore. And if she isn't gaining from that or learning from that, and I mean, I'm not just counseling, but any services, then it does no good. So, I think we have tried to provide the tools that Ms. Pineda needs to provide a safe and stable home, not just for these two children, but for all of her children. And she knows how to contact Ms. Kirksey and say, maybe it's a really good idea that I go do some more, substance abuse counseling. Maybe I'm not really where I thought I was at. Or maybe I do need some more parenting classes because I obviously am still not making really good choices for my kids. I had two children under the age of 13 exit my home without my knowledge and take a baby with them because they were scared to death of the domestic violence that was occurring in the home at the hands of an individual that she allowed in the home. So when two children, I think their ages 11 and 12, go out the front door or out a window with an infant because they're scared, it's not a good situation. So if she wants to avail herself of further services, she knows how to do it, but I'm not going to order it. All right, I will see everybody back on January 16th of 2024, 9 o'clock docket for our final. Ms. Katie, do we have much of the day set aside that date? She might be
we have a few review hearings, so it'll be late in the morning, but if I need to reset it for its own day, we can do the 18th.
Council, let's just talk about it right now. I suspect we're in for at least one full long day.
I would agree we would need more time than less, but yeah.
I would as well.
But and everybody knows the 18th is the day before the dismissal day. So, just like the title of the movie, come, what or high water. If we reset to the 18th, it's really, I mean, whether it's the 16th or the 18th, it's going to happen. So if anybody gets a conflict, I need to know as soon as you know you've got a conflict, so I can talk to whatever other court. So what's everybody's preference? You want to leave it on the 16th, knowing we may not get it finished, or y'all want to specially set for the 18th?
Judge, I would say, I'm sorry, you can go ahead.
I'm blocking out all 3 days on my calendar, 16th, 17th, and 18th. That's all blocked out for this.
Judge, I would suggest leave it on the 16th, and if it spills over, we'll have the 18th to finish it if we need that.
Okay, Mr. Jackson.
Yeah, I'm going to be in your court on the 16th. That morning, I've got a couple of cases, and I'm open on the 18th, so I'm flexible.
All right, Mr. Hill.
I'm good.
Okay, let's mark both days. I mean, I think it's going to take it. So please, y'all, if you get set, on a docket somewhere or anything like that, please give me a heads up ASAP. I will go to bat for you. I will take it up with whatever other court I need to take it up with. It's typically not a problem. So, but I'll be the heavy, and let me deal with that.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I appreciate everybody's time. Ms. Pineda, best of luck to you the next several months. And I'll see everybody back then the 16th, and we'll get going and roll into the 18th if we need it.
Your Honor, could you leave me in the room with my client?